And just the importance of reminding ourselves to go back in and carve out those times to talk about what worked well, what didn't work so well, how can we have some systems improvements, and how do we take care of each other.
Just talking about how process maps and transparency can really strengthen our response. Because a case comes in, we know, okay, we're going to respond, but we don't always think through all the time what that should look like. But I think as a whole, we don't always take the time to do this stuff. And it's just so important because we're like, we've got to, students have to come first. We'll take care of ourselves later. We've talked about this. It's like that whole concept of putting your own oxygen mask on first on the plane. If you don't do that, you can't help others, or you're not as effective typically in helping others. That it's just, we're going to continue to make the same mistakes, not serve students as well as we could, and not take care of ourselves. And that's what this is about.
But to be able to talk about the what's going well, what could be better, and what's on fire, getting a sense of like, how are things going for the team? What are some of our more chronic issues that we might see? Even just like starting on time, right? It can be some of those that some people run late, and it would be better if Brian showed up on time.
But yeah, having somebody show up half an hour, I get it. Everybody's going to be a little late, but that can be a thing. And we don't want to call each other out, but it's a pretty important meeting that we don't have the time to revisit it all the time throughout the week, even though we do, and the meeting after the meeting and the phone calls after the meeting and all that.
But just remember when we're getting that intake form from folks, how important it is to realize that they're just at this initial stage of reporting, and that how much overlap exists between all of these different cases that we see. Membership. We have 27 people on the team, and I'm like, oh my God, that's too many. And they're like, but they all don't show up. And I'm like, now it's inconsistent. It's worse.
And one of the things I really try to avoid, because I think it happens sometimes in other areas of universities, it happens probably in any workplace. What I'm not talking about, and I don't think plays very well with the team at all, is toxic positivity. And the response was, hey, just tell the team, buck up, little soldiers. We come together with these unique skills to support those students who are really and often struggling. And that can be deeply meaningful work, and it really gives purpose to what we do. But on the other hand, it can be draining and wearing. And we're thinking about it only as it depletes what we are and what we do. It really need to just change that lens up so it can restore our sense of agency. We don't slide into that helplessness as much. Realizing and having your team and helping them realize that we can feel like, okay, my personal life's not great right now, but I can still help people. So I can be capable and lost. I can be struggling and smiling. I can be an introvert who also reaches out. I am by nature an introvert, and I lived probably the first 25 years of my career thinking otherwise and resisting it, but I am an introvert and eventually learned that.
So I don't want people to feel hamstrung not to help people when they're in struggle, but are we helping people to the point where we're getting pulled away from our central mission, and do we need to tone that back some?
If you become the catch-all, you're not going to have time to do all the things you're probably supposed to be doing. Where has our scope crept?
Don't just assign people by department, but have these thoughts about, if someone just worked a really difficult case with a high profile suicide attempt, that the next serious threat case, even though it's usually them who picks that up, maybe not this time. Right. What we realized pretty quickly is you can't just do a numbers-based assessment and say, Brian has 32 active cases and Stephanie has 19 active cases, so Brian's working harder than Stephanie. The reality is 5 of Stephanie's cases might be absolute, I think the clinical term is dumpster fire or train wreck. So her acuity and caseload and just overall, it's like way off the chart.